My bestie and I were so broke we couldn't afford tuition, so we decided to catfish guys online for money. My job was to provide the photos. Hers was to provide the emotional connection. The problem was, we accidentally hooked two guys who were pretending to be someone they weren't. One claimed to be an A-list celebrity, the other a New York trust fund baby. They were full of it, but at least they were generous. Just as we'd scammed enough for tuition and were about to pull the plug, things went sideways. The aloof, cool-headed celebrity posted my picture on X, announcing to the world he was in a relationship. Then the NYC trust fund kid reposted it with a single question mark. So? What are you doing announcing your new relationship with a picture of my girlfriend? The internet exploded. I burst into tears and asked my bestie, my voice trembling, what do we do? They're for real. My best friend, Stella Kane, and I were orphans raised by a mob boss. He'd originally planned to groom us into his top lieutenants. He tried to train us as con artists, but we'd start stuttering the second we opened our mouths. He tried to train us to fight, but we'd drop to our knees and beg for mercy at the first sign of trouble. When we got a little older, he sent us to work as hostesses in a club. But not only did we fail to bring in any customers, we ate more than we earned. The club sent us right back. The mob boss, at his wit's end, threw us into school. After we took our SATs, he stared at our scores, one a 1580, the other a 1570, completely dumbfounded. He realized with despair that we were good for nothing but studying. Faced with our big, innocent eyes, the mob boss avoided our gaze. Don't even think about it. I'm already being generous letting you go to high school. You can forget about college tuition. With that, he tossed us and our luggage out onto the street, leaving us with one final remark. Getting scores like that is a miracle in itself, so I'll call it even on all the years I've spent raising you. You're on your own from now on. And just like that, my bestie and I began our new life on the streets. We didn't have a penny to our names and had nowhere to go. We hadn't eaten in 3 days and were so hungry our eyes were glazing over. Walking past a restaurant, the aroma of food was so intoxicating I couldn't move another step. On the verge of tears, I grabbed my bestie's arm. I can't do this anymore. Let's just go back and beg the boss for help. If we keep this up, we're going to starve to death. Stella looked at me like I was a lost cause. We played dumb to finally get out of there, and now you want to go back. Once school starts, we'll have a place to live. And once we graduate from college, we can start a new life. But as she spoke, her stomach rumbled. She looked embarrassed but remained stubborn. No matter what, I am not going back. Stella's words were final, so all I could do was stare at the dumplings at a nearby street vendor and swallow hard. Suddenly, watching me, a thoughtful look crossed her face. You know, Michelle Miller, I'm just now realizing, you're actually kinda pretty. I puffed up my chest, pleased with the compliment. You know it. Remember all the guys who confessed their feelings for me back in high school? If it weren't for them constantly distracting me from my studies, I bet my SAT score wouldn't have been 5 points lower than yours. Stella just scoffed. Yeah, right. And if my aunt had wheels, she'd be a bicycle. She changed the subject. Wait, this isn't the time for that. Quick, make that pathetic, pitiful face you were just making. I had no idea what she was up to. What are you doing? Don't ask. Just do it. Even though I didn't know what Stella was planning, I did as she asked. Ever since we were kids, she'd always been right about everything. She took out her phone and aimed it at me. Click. Then, her fingers started flying across the screen. I leaned in to see what she was doing, but she just confidently showed me her phone's banking app. See? We've got money for dinner tonight. I leaned closer and let out a shriek. A full 500. For a moment, I didn't even think to ask where the money came from. I just grabbed her and dragged her to the nearest restaurant. After we'd eaten our fill, I finally remembered to ask Stella where the money came from. But her eyes darted away, and she refused to answer. Nobody knew Stella better than I did. This was her classic "I did something shady" face. Connecting the dots with her asking for my picture, I made a wild guess. Oh my God, Stella. You didn't use my photo to take out a loan, did you? Are you even human? Stella shook her head frantically. No, I'd never do something like that. I gave her a skeptical look. Then what did you use my picture for? You didn't sell me, did you? Stella nodded. My eyes went wide. Then she immediately shook her head again. Yes and no. I wrapped my hand around her neck threateningly. Spill it. What did you do? She had no choice but to pull out her phone and show me how she got the money. Turns out, she'd added a guy she met while gaming a while back. The two of them, both flirts, chatted often. Just a moment ago, the guy happened to message her. She sent him my picture with a caption. OMG, my friend said I look like I haven't eaten in days, but the dumplings next door smell so good. Reading Stella's text, I felt so nauseous I almost threw up my dinner. But Stella was completely unfazed. Michelle, what's with that look? I'm telling you, guys totally fall for this stuff. Scroll down if you don't believe me. I looked down. The guy hadn't said another word. He just sent a transfer for $500. I stared at Stella, my face a mask of shock. She looked guilty under my gaze and started to stammer, "Whoa, don't look at me like that. I sacrificed my dignity to get you a meal. What's with that expression? Hey, don't be like that. Fine, I'll return the rest of the money and delete him." Hearing this, I couldn't believe my ears. Stella, what the hell are you talking about? Why would you delete our cash cow? Stella looked at me, completely baffled. Wait, what are you saying? 5 minutes later, Stella was stroking her chin and looking at me. So, what you're saying is, you want me to use your pictures to catfish him online and scam him for our tuition money? I nodded, satisfied. Exactly. But a guilty look crossed her face. If it were anyone else, fine, but this guy. Confused, I asked her what was wrong. Stella tapped her head. This guy, I think there's something a little off with him. He keeps saying he's an A-list celebrity. Hearing this, I couldn't help but grin. Where on earth did Stella find these weirdos, and how did she manage to talk to them for so long? Stella shot me a resentful look. I quickly wiped the smile off my face. Damn it. This was not the time to be laughing. I slapped my thigh and declared righteously, "That's perfect. He thinks he's a huge star. That means he must think he's loaded, which will make it even easier for us to get the money." Stella looked at me in disbelief. Seriously, Michelle? You'd really scam a delusional guy? Michelle, if it's that bad, let's just work part-time jobs for the next 2 months. I couldn't help but shoot back, haven't we been trying hard enough to find work these past 3 days? The second they hear we're just summer hires who are leaving for college in September, they practically kick us out the door. Where are we supposed to find part-time jobs? Stella wanted to argue but knew I was right. I tried to comfort her. Don't think of it so seriously. Just pretend we're borrowing it from him. Once we get to college, we can get part-time jobs and pay him back. That's not really scamming. Hearing this, Stella hesitated. Then we have a deal. Once we're in college and have an income, we pay him back. I nodded. Absolutely. It's a promise. Even though Stella agreed to scam money from the fake celebrity, she still felt it was unethical to target just one person. So, she posted my picture on her social media with a caption. "Food, please." Not even 5 minutes passed. I stared at the over 99 likes and comments, and the flood of DMs I couldn't even begin to read, completely stunned. "Did you just post this?" Stella nodded. "Told you. You're actually kinda pretty. Once we get to a motel, we'll go through the DMs and comments and vet the guys properly." Stella, if we just want money, can't we just find one rich guy? Why do we have to vet them? Stella cut me off immediately. Of course we have to vet them. Think about it. What if he's just pretending to be rich but is actually broke? A guy like that would want us to pay him back for a cup of coffee, let alone cover our tuition. And second, we have to make sure our targets are single and unmarried. We can't touch a couple's joint assets. I nodded, only half understanding. I get it. We're ethical scammers. Stella approved of my summary. After a rigorous screening process, we finally picked a serious suitor from the sea of creepy DMs. His username, NYC Prince, was a little pretentious. But we chose him anyway. For one reason and one reason only. While everyone else was sending sleazy messages, his was short and to the point. 1,000 for your number. After analyzing his account, Stella came to the following conclusions. First, his location tags were often in other countries or different cities, which meant he either had a respectable job that required frequent travel or came from a rich family that allowed him to travel everywhere. Second, there was no trace of a woman on his account. He never posted anything on Valentine's Day or any other romantic holiday, which meant there was an 80% chance he was single. Stella nodded at me. This one looks promising. We can delete the post and focus on reeling him in. No, wait. I mean, we can focus on our online romance. But as we huddled together on the small motel bed, we just stared at each other. Stella, what's our next move? Good question. Aren't you the one who's good at chatting? Go on, talk to him. Stella looked troubled. When I was talking to that celebrity guy, we were just friends. Now that our goal is so specific, I'm kind of drawing a blank. As we were hesitating, a message came through. The phone's vibration made us both jump, and we flung it several feet away. Michelle, go see what he sent. No way. I already sold my face. It's your turn to provide the emotional labor. After a brief struggle, Stella finally picked up the phone. The prince had sent a direct transfer of $1,000. He left a short message. The old man sent me to close a deal. Talk tonight. Stella laughed when she saw the message. Michelle, what kind of luck do we have? All day long, we just keep adding posers. The old man, I thought I'd accidentally opened a cheesy romance novel on some app. I couldn't help but laugh too. Stella immediately replied. Okay, Prince Charming. I'll be waiting. A moment later, he replied with, good girl. I finally lost it. Has this guy read too many novels and started thinking he's some kind of domineering CEO from New York? Stella nodded in agreement. The vibe is so on point, it's almost scary. But the prince's next message shut us both up. He sent us another $2,000. The memo read, for coffee. Stella and I looked at each other. The playful mockery was gone, replaced by a newfound respect for the prince. From this moment on, I pledged my allegiance to him as the new Prince of New York. While the prince was busy, Stella decided to use the opportunity to build a connection with the A-lister. But after just a few messages, the celebrity said something suddenly came up and he wouldn't be free until the evening. Stella couldn't help but ask what was so important. He said he had to rush to a public appearance, his schedule was packed, but he promised to message her as soon as he was free. Stella couldn't help but complain. How deep in denial do you have to be to play the part this convincingly? But her fingers never stopped typing. Humph, you're so mean. You never used to ditch me mid-conversation to go work. Do you not like me anymore? You can't. Even though Stella was saying this, she looked pretty happy. It's perfect timing. The star I like has a press conference for his new drama tonight, so I'll have time to watch him. I looked at the messages Stella was sending, a little confused. Stella, do we really have to talk in that tone? She rolled her eyes at me. Don't you know? These broody, emo types eat this stuff up. Don't believe me? Look at our past chat history. I was skeptical. I scrolled all the way back to the beginning of her chat history with the A-lister. I was speechless. Wow, you're so good at the game, and your avatar is so hot. Stella, is having a hot avatar really something worth complimenting? Stella zoomed in on his profile picture. Look, it's the male lead from that show I'm obsessed with right now. So handsome. For a guy to appreciate another man's good looks, isn't that a virtue? Stella's logic made my brow furrow. I looked at the A-lister's reply and almost rolled my eyes out of my head. Leo, it's whatever. Someone just snapped it for me. I pointed at the message and asked Stella, you actually believe that? Stella immediately shot back. Of course not. Do you think I'm an idiot? Why else would I tell you something's a little off with him? I gave up. Then how did you manage to chat with him for so long? Stella said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Because he's a god-tier gamer, obviously. All I have to do is toss him a few empty compliments, and he'll carry me to victory. Isn't that a great deal? I thought about it. She had a point. After all, a few simple words from us, and he sent us 500 for dinner. I kept reading. Stella's messages got even more ridiculous. You're so special, not like the other guys I know. You have this lonely, distant vibe about you. I've heard a lot of people say they're lonely, but I feel like your loneliness is the real deal. I couldn't take it anymore. Stella, are you just assuming this guy never goes online? You're sending him these cheesy pickup lines word for word. Stella shrugged helplessly. He probably really doesn't go online. You should see how he replied. I kept reading and discovered that this A-lister's replies were a mix of naivety and foolishness. You really think so? In all this time, you're the only one who truly understands me. No one has ever said anything like that to me before. Everyone thinks that because I'm a star, I'm surrounded by people, but the truth is, I'm really lonely. I looked at Stella. Honestly, I think you're partly responsible for him getting this deep into his character. Stella looked at me, her expression one of pure righteousness. I just couldn't bear to be the one to crush his dreams and shatter his fantasy. Ugh, let's stop talking about him. The show I'm following is about to have its press conference. I'm telling you, even though I'm not a superfan, the show is amazing, and the lead actor is drop-dead gorgeous. He's definitely an A-lister for a reason. So, I put my phone aside, and Stella and I huddled around the small TV in the motel room to watch the press conference. We waited for a long time but didn't see the lead actor. Instead, we saw a man in a black suit with a serious expression. He was, however, very handsome. I pointed at the screen and asked Stella, "Who's that?" Stella took a look, also confused. "That person, I don't think he's a character in the show." She pulled out her phone and did a quick search. "Oh, I know. That's the so-called NYC prince. His family invested in this show, so he's attending the press conference too." After Stella finished, we couldn't help but exchange a mischievous glance and say in unison, "The NYC prince?" The real prince was at a press conference. I wondered what billion-dollar deal our online prince was closing. So, we sent a message to our Prince Charming. "Hey, how'd the deal go?" "It was okay." Stella couldn't help but laugh at his reply. "Still keeping up the act. You lied to me, didn't you? You were actually at the press conference." He was clearly hesitant. After a long pause, a message came through. "How did you know?" Seriously, couldn't he even come up with a decent lie? One minute he's closing a deal, the next he's at a press conference. Stella pressed her advantage. "You told me you were closing a deal, but you were at a press conference instead. There must be tons of pretty actresses there. No wonder you had to lie to me." "It's okay, though. I can handle it." I gave Stella a big thumbs up. She was a master. The guy on the other end seemed to be struggling to keep up. He sent a few messages. "I couldn't disclose too much, so I just told you I was closing a deal. Don't overthink it. I'm not the type to just lie to people." And then came another transfer notification. The prince sent us $10,000. Memo, I'm sorry. Go buy yourself a gift. I gulped and nudged Stella. I'm not seeing things, am I? He just casually sent us $10,000? Stella was stunned too. Seriously, how can anyone be this rich? Oh, dear Lord, would it kill you to let one more rich person exist in this world? Me. Just then, a loud clap of thunder boomed outside, and Stella and I grabbed each other in fear. Stella couldn't help but curse. I get it. The world would end if I got rich, right? You don't have to remind me like this. The next day, we were huddled over the chat with the A-lister, plotting loudly. Stella, hurry up and mention money. Don't forget, you're supposed to be a gold digger. Stella looked nervous. What do I do? I feel so awkward. Don't be awkward. Just do what you did to get that first 500. Stella cleared her throat and said in a sweet, delicate voice. Hey, I really want that new skin in the game. Sure enough, he immediately sent a $200 transfer. After seeing the prince's generosity, $200 wasn't enough to wow us anymore. But adhering to the principle that every little bit counts, we gladly accepted the money. Unexpectedly, 10 minutes later, the A-lister messaged us again. Hey, Stella, how come I don't see your new skin in the game? Stella slowly closed her eyes. You've got to be kidding me, are we really going to spend the money we just got on a skin? Come on, Stella, buy it, buy it. I already got mine. I'm just waiting for you so we can play together. So, we painfully spent the $200 we just received on a game skin. We could only console ourselves, you have to spend money to make money. There would definitely be another chance to get more. And sure enough, that evening, the prince messaged us. Though he only sent one word. Here. We could faintly smell the scent of money. We immediately responded like eager puppies. Here, here. The prince was usually cold and barely replied to our messages. This was the first time he'd actively reached out to us. We had to seize this money-making opportunity. You remind me of a friend of mine. Stella and I exchanged a knowing glance. The substitute lover trope. We got it. Behind every emotionally unavailable CEO, there's a lost love who went abroad. Of course, this could also just be the prince's way of starting a conversation. As online friends who were supposed to provide plenty of emotional support, we immediately laid on the flattery. Wow, you must be such a loyal person to remember a friend for so long. The CEO slowly typed out a few words. Not really. I hate her. Seeing this, Stella and I both froze. That's not how the script goes. Before we could figure out how to respond, another message from the prince arrived. I used to wish she would just disappear forever. I didn't think she actually would, so I was a little surprised when I saw your picture. A chill ran down our spines. We were just two timid girls trying to scam some money for school. Did we stumble upon a psychopath? Was he going to make me disappear too? But I've come to terms with it now. Maybe this is her way of punishing me. Can you sing me a song? She loved listening to Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Hearing the song title, I couldn't help but twitch. Mr. Prince, your friend sounds a little young. Just as I was about to open my mouth to sing, Stella stopped me. Michelle, shut up. Don't you know how terrible you are at singing? Oh, right. I awkwardly closed my mouth. For some reason, ever since I was a kid, I've always been horribly tone deaf. No matter how hard I tried, I could never fix it. Stella said it was probably genetic. My parents were probably terrible singers too. Every time I thought about it, I was speechless. They had me and then abandoned me, and on top of that, they passed down this flaw. Not like Stella, who was smart and could sing beautifully. I looked at Stella. She was now singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star to the prince with great emotion. When the song ended, we waited expectantly for his reply. We were hoping he'd be so happy he'd tip us $10,000 or $20,000. Instead, he said, "That's not the feeling I was looking for." Although we didn't get the response we wanted, we understood that the customer is always right. So, Stella sang it again and again in different styles. But to our surprise, the prince was still not satisfied. Stella was at her breaking point. She looked at me. "You sing one for him. Let him know what real tone deafness sounds like." I hesitated. My singing was genuinely awful. I was afraid the prince would hear it and just delete us. But at Stella's insistence, I cautiously began to sing. Just like always, I was so off-key I was in another galaxy. But this time, to our amazement, the prince excitedly sent, "Beautiful." He even followed it with 3 exclamation points. Stella and I stared at the phone, wondering if our ears were broken. We played my voice memo again, and the more we listened, the more we doubted our sanity. The prince sent another message. "That's the feeling. You really brought me back to that time." And then, another transfer for $5,000. Stella silently accepted the money. I'm counting this as my emotional damage pay. I fell silent too. This prince guy, he had so much money, why didn't he get his ears checked? And so it went. Stella spent her days playing games with the A-lister, and I spent my nights singing the prince to sleep. After a whole summer of hard work, we had the prince and the A-lister completely wrapped around our fingers. A single word from us, and they'd send a $5,200 transfer. We had finally scraped together enough for tuition, but it was only when school was about to start that we discovered the devastating truth. Colleges offer student loans. For crying out loud, Michelle, is your brain only capable of cooking up shady schemes to make money? How did you not know about student loans? Faced with Stella's accusation, I shot back indignantly, "Stella, have you no conscience? Was my scamming idea just for myself? Besides, you didn't know about student loans either." At this point, all we could do was fill out the student loan applications at the financial aid office, drowning in regret. A girl walking by saw us and, noticing the applications, let out a cold laugh. A couple of broke losers. Stella had a short fuse and immediately stood up. "What's wrong with being broke, you idiot?" The girl had clearly never been confronted so directly. She stared at Stella in disbelief. "Are you cussing me out?" Stella looked at her like she was a fool. Damn, she really is an idiot. Doesn't even know when she's being insulted. Let's go. It's bad luck to be at the same university as someone with such a low IQ and EQ. Before I could react, Stella grabbed my hand and pulled me away. But to our surprise, when we returned to the dorm after submitting our applications, we saw the same girl. She was our new roommate, Mandy. The girl must have recognized us too, because her face was full of disgust. How does the school even assign rooms? I can't believe they put me in with people like this. Stella didn't say a word. She just sneered. In front of the girl, she split a watermelon in half with her bare hands. Stella didn't just have a bad temper, she was also incredibly strong. Mandy stared at the 2 halves of the watermelon, her face turning pale with fear. Stella looked at her and said, "What, you have a problem with being our roommate?" Though scared, Mandy was still defiant. "Are you threatening me? Do you have any idea who my brother is? I won't let you get away with this." With that, she rushed out of the dorm. Stella and I started to unpack. Suddenly, my phone buzzed repeatedly. The A-lister. "Hey, babe, what are you up to?" Transfer of $5,200. The prince. Transfer of $5,200. What are you doing? Stella and I looked at our phones and broke into a cold sweat. A few days ago, we would have accepted the money without a second thought. But things were different now. We had money for school. We didn't want to keep up this scam anymore. So, we quickly and decisively rejected the transfers. But they were not happy about it. The A-lister. "Don't you love me anymore, babe? Why won't you take my money?" The prince. Was it not enough this time? Transfer of 52,000. I stared at the 5-figure transfer, and honestly, I was finding it hard to resist. Just as my trembling finger was about to accept the transfer, Stella stopped me. Michelle. What are you doing? Are you really going to take this man's money and get used to being handed everything? Don't you want to be a woman who relies on herself? I looked at Stella, torn. But, Stella, don't you want to just coast for a while? Stella's reply was blunt and simple, yes. But we can't take their money anymore. Our original goal was just to get tuition money. If we keep taking their money like this, we'll have lost sight of why we started. How would that make us any different from the mob boss who raised us? Honestly, I was old enough now that her righteous speeches didn't really work on me. But I could tell Stella didn't want to accept the money, so I hit decline. I thought she would be happy, but she just stared at me in shock. Wait, Michelle, you really declined it? I gave her a slightly exasperated look. What else? You couldn't convince yourself to take it, so you were waiting for me to convince you? We looked at each other and let out a long sigh. Forget it. It's not in the cards for us. We'll just have to rely on ourselves. With that thought, I made a suggestion. Stella, why don't we just tell them the truth? And then transfer all their money back to them. We only spent a little, so we can just count that as our service fee. Stella nodded. You have a point. But how should we break up with them? A smile crept onto my face. That's the easy part. I grabbed my phone and, without a second thought, drafted the breakup texts. First, for the A-lister. I've thought about this a lot, and even though I was happy with you, I don't think we have a future. You're an A-list star, and I'm just an ordinary person. You can't go public with our relationship, and I don't want a love that has to stay hidden. Let's just break up. Transfer of 20,000. Next, for the prince. Thank you for everything. As a man of your status, you showed me so much favor, but you're a New York scion, and I'm just an ordinary person. The gap between us has always made me feel insecure. Let's break up. Transfer of 58,000. Then, a quick block and delete, and problem solved. Stella watched my smooth operation and gave me an admiring thumbs up. Michelle, you're good. Fighting fire with fire. I lifted my chin proudly. Of course. I had plenty of practice turning guys down in high school. With that weight off our chests, Stella and I decided to celebrate with a big meal at the food street near campus. But, of course, that's where we ran into our delightful roommate, Mandy, again. We found a random stall, sat down, and after ordering, we noticed a familiar person standing next to the cook. Michelle, isn't that our charming roommate? I followed Stella's finger and, sure enough, it was Mandy. She was standing in front of the owner, a pleading look on her face. We weren't far, so we could even hear what she was saying. Chris, please listen to me. Stop working at this stall, okay? I have money. You can have all my money. I just don't want to see you working so hard. Stella and I stared, our eyes wide. This Mandy. On one hand, she called us broke losers, and on the other, she was desperately trying to give her money to a broke guy. So it was okay to be broke, as long as you were a guy? What kind of sexist logic was that? The stall owner didn't even respond to Mandy. His expression was cold, as if she were invisible. We got it. Mandy was throwing herself at him and getting rejected. The owner would rather work for himself than be her kept man. We were about to pretend we hadn't seen anything. But just as we went to get our food, Mandy, frustrated at being ignored, angrily kicked a nearby table. The sudden noise startled us, and the plates in our hands went flying, spilling food all over Mandy. Mandy screamed. When she saw it was us, her teeth clenched. It's you two again. With that, she raised her hand to slap us. But the stall owner grabbed Mandy's wrist. That's enough, Mandy. How long are you going to keep this up? Mandy was furious. Chris. Why do you always take their side instead of mine? Didn't you see what they did to me? I quickly explained. Excuse me, lady, if you hadn't randomly kicked the table, you wouldn't have scared us, and we wouldn't have accidentally spilled everything on you. Chris nodded. She's right. Mandy, embarrassed and enraged, glared at us. I haven't even settled the score with you from this afternoon, and now you're back to ruin my day. Do you know who my brother is? He's Leo Vance, the biggest star in Hollywood. And my childhood best friend is the NYC prince. With one word, I could make it impossible for you to survive here. Why was it always A-listers and NYC princes? Were we permanently tied to these two titles? How many of them were there, anyway? But at that moment, we were more interested in another question. Mandy, if you're surrounded by so many great guys, why are you still throwing yourself at him? Mandy was fuming. None of your business. You want me to have my brother sick his fans on you? But just as the words left her mouth, a commotion erupted nearby. People were whispering excitedly. Look at X. Leo Vance just went public with his relationship. I see it, I see it. Oh my God, I never thought someone so cool and distant would just post a picture of his girlfriend like that. And his girlfriend is gorgeous. She could be a model. Hearing this, Mandy's eyes widened in shock. That idiot Leo. Does he really think he's some kind of romantic hero? But when she pulled out her phone, she froze completely. She stared blankly at me. When did you get your hooks into my brother? I had no idea what Mandy was talking about. But when Stella and I opened X, we froze too. The A-list star Leo Vance had posted my picture on his feed, announcing he was in a relationship. Mandy's hands were trembling with rage. You think you can just climb the social ladder by latching onto my brother? Ha! With just one word from my childhood friend, the NYC prince, I can make sure you never make it in this city. But as soon as she finished, another wave of gasps went through the crowd. Oh my God. The NYC prince, Julian Astor, has a girlfriend too. X is on fire tonight. The expression on Mandy's face turned awkward. But when she looked at her phone, the awkwardness turned into pure disbelief. I opened X to see what was going on. And there it was. The verified account of the NYC prince had reposted Leo Vance's post with a single question mark. So, what are you doing announcing your new relationship with a picture of my girlfriend? After reading that, I nearly fainted. Thinking back on everything they'd said, I suddenly realized they might not have been lying after all. I burst into tears and looked at Stella, trembling. What do we do? They're for real. Stella was just as terrified by this revelation. She looked at me, her face pale. Michelle, do you think it's too late to drop out? As it turned out, it was too late. We hadn't even made it back to our dorm. Just walking across campus, we were already the center of attention. Look, that's her. That's her, Leo Vance's girlfriend. How did she even get with Leo Vance? She looks so ordinary. Who cares how? To be noticed by both Leo Vance and the NYC prince, how can she be ordinary? Can she start a class on this? I'd be the first to sign up. Listening to the chatter, Stella and I just wanted the ground to swallow us whole. I gritted my teeth. Stella, can you please tell me why a random guy you added in a game turned out to be a Hollywood A-lister? Stella was equally speechless. You have the nerve to blame me? You post one picture to bait guys and end up hooking the NYC prince himself. I sighed. Stella, how can a person be this unlucky? Maybe we should buy a lottery ticket. We might actually win the jackpot. Suddenly, Stella stared ahead, her face filled with terror. Hold on, Michelle, forget the lottery for a second. Look at those two guys by the dorm. Don't they look a little familiar? I followed her gaze. Two men were standing in front of our dorm building. One was wearing a sharp black suit, his features refined, exuding a distant air. The other was in a white shirt and black pants, a slight smile on his face, so handsome he seemed out of place. I looked at them and asked Stella, "Who are they?" "They're so hot." Stella finally snapped and punched me on the arm. "Michelle, what is wrong with you? You can't tell? They're the two guys from X today. And now they're here waiting for you." My eyes widened in shock. "Oh, crap. Stella, what do we do?" But before we could come up with a plan, someone in the crowd shouted at them. "Your girlfriend is over here. Right here." They started walking toward us, step by step. I looked at Stella in despair. "Stella, I don't want to die." But I never expected Stella to abandon me at a time like this. She let go of my hand and said cautiously, "Michelle, you've been exposed. There's no need for both of us to go down. I'll be with you in spirit." As Stella slipped away, the two men were already standing in front of me. I looked up, trying to muster a friendly smile. "Hey there, Mr. A-lister, and Mr. Prince." Julian Astor raised an eyebrow at me. Leo Vance, however, just smiled. "Could we speak somewhere more private?" Though Leo asked politely, the next thing I knew, I was being escorted into a car. We were in a 5-star hotel restaurant. Outside the window, the city lights blurred into rivers of traffic, showcasing the unique glamour of New York. Leo and Julian calmly cut into their steaks in front of me. I just watched them in silence. It smelled delicious, but I couldn't bring myself to eat a bloody steak. Julian looked down and suddenly asked, "Your name is Michelle Miller, right? Did you have fun messing with us?" I shook my head. Julian let out a cold laugh. "You didn't have fun? We just compared our chat logs. You spent your days playing games with him and your nights singing for me. You're a busy girl." Oh no. They'd already compared notes. Was I going to make it out of here alive tonight? "Damn you, Stella. We did this together, and you're leaving me to take all the heat. I'm going to get you for this." Just as my mind was racing with all the ways they might torture me tonight, Leo suddenly got emotional, his eyes turning red. "Michelle, you only talk to Julian at night for his money, right? The person you really love is me, isn't it?" Leo was crying so beautifully it was almost heartbreaking. I nodded. It was true. I only talked to Julian for his money. Leo smiled when he saw my response. But then I shook my head again. Because that wasn't right either. I only talked to Leo for his money, too. Leo looked at me. "Michelle, you only broke up with me because you were mad I didn't make our relationship public, right? I've already announced it on X. Please don't be mad at me anymore, okay?" Hearing this, I felt a wave of despair. I should have used a different breakup excuse. Then I wouldn't be in all this trouble. Seriously. Where did Stella learn her flirting techniques? How did she manage to get him this obsessed? I looked at the two of them and then thought about how Stella had ruthlessly abandoned me. I decided to go all in. "Stella, you are so dead." I put on a sad expression and began. "Thank you both for liking me. But there's something I need to tell you. My pictures were used by my friend to catfish people online. So all the pictures you saw were posted by her. And all the conversations you had were with her, too." Leo was stunned. "You're saying, she was the one playing games and chatting with me this whole time?" I nodded. "Yes, that's right. So the person you love shouldn't be me. It should be her. Her name is Stella Kane, and she's a student at our university too." As soon as I said that, Leo shot up and ran out of the room. If I guessed correctly, he was going to find Stella. I looked at Julian, who hadn't moved an inch. "Mr. Astor, aren't you going?" He looked at me with a half smile. "No. After all, I'm interested in your face, not your soul." Wait, that's not. Was I supposed to say thank you? We sat facing each other, neither of us speaking. Just as I was trying to come up with an excuse to slip away, Julian finally spoke. No one dares to mess with me like this. You're the second person to do it. Who was the first? At my question, a small smile played on his lips. She's dead. I sucked in a sharp breath. No way. Am I about to die? Suddenly, a sad look crossed Julian's face. No, wait. Maybe not dead. Maybe she just went missing. In that moment, I thought of all the news stories about girls who went missing and were trafficked. I wanted to be on the news, sure. But not like this. I squeezed out a couple of tears and looked at Julian pitifully. Sir, I'm begging you, please let me go. I wasn't the one chatting with you, and I returned all the money. I really don't want to die. Julian looked at me. Do I look like I'm in the mob? I shook my head vigorously. Not at all. Not one bit. Then why do you look like you're about to be executed? Relax. I don't want your life. I just want to make a deal with you. Hearing this, I quickly covered myself. Sir, please don't. I'll perform, but I won't sell my body. Julian fell silent. Could you please uninstall that cheesy romance novel app from your phone? Half an hour later, I was trying to process what Julian had told me. So, you're saying that the Osgood family's daughter went missing over a decade ago. And you want me to pretend to be her? Julian nodded. But, out of all the people in the world, why me? Julian pulled out his phone and showed me my picture. Because you, like Vivian Osgood, have a mole at the corner of your eye. And you're about the same age. I was still worried. You said it yourself, the Osgoods are a powerful family. What if they find the real Vivian? My cover would be blown, and they wouldn't let me get away with it. Hearing this, a look of sadness crossed Julian's face. Don't worry. They've been searching for all these years and haven't found a thing. They only found the person who took Vivian back then. According to him, he sold her on the black market. It's likely she didn't survive. Listening to Vivian's story, I felt a pang of sympathy. Even a rich girl's life could be so tragic. Just like me, growing up under the thumb of a mob boss. But I was different from the heiress. The boss told me I was abandoned by my family at an orphanage when I was 8. He was the one who took me in. My parents abandoned me, but the heiress wasn't abandoned. But my DNA is different from hers. They'll know once they do a paternity test. Julian lifted his head slightly, his expression arrogant. Don't worry. Just do as I say. No one will know you're the fake Vivian Osgood. I trembled slightly. So, why exactly do you want me to pretend to be Vivian? At that, Julian looked out the window. I couldn't see his expression. To get justice for the real Vivian, of course. 10 years have passed. I don't believe an 8-year-old girl just wandered off and got taken by traffickers. Don't worry. Whether I find the truth or not, I'll give you $10 million in the end. And I'll cover your and your best friend's tuition and living expenses during this time. After all, you two seem to be very short on cash, right? For crying out loud, did we really look that poor? I wanted to reject his stereotype. But I found that I absolutely could not reject $10 million. When I got back to the dorm, I was still in a daze. I wanted to tell Stella everything that had happened tonight. But when I got back, the dorm was empty. I was about to check my phone when I realized it was dead. A wave of panic washed over me. Even though Stella's decision to abandon me tonight was a capital offense, I didn't want her to die so soon. I quickly plugged my phone in. Ugh. This cheap phone that came free with my plan had a terrible battery. The moment my phone turned on, I saw countless missed calls from Stella. And 99 messages from her. 8:13 p.m. Don't say I'm not a good friend, but if we both got caught, there'd be no one to come up with a plan. Don't worry, if you're not back in an hour, I'll definitely come rescue you. 8:20 p.m. Michelle, why aren't you texting me back? Are you mad at me? Come on, just text me back. 8:30 p.m. Michelle, don't scare me. Just text me back, and I'll make it up to you later. I really know I was wrong. Where are you? I'll come find you. 8:40 p.m. Michelle, you're not really trying to scare me, are you? Wah, I'm so sorry. 9:10 p.m. OMG, Michelle, that Leo guy came to find me. I'm going to demand to know where he took you. 9:15 p.m. He confessed his feelings for me? Why is he so fickle? What a player. 9:30 p.m. Chloe. We have a house. This Leo guy gave me an apartment right next to campus. He said you're fine. When you get back, remember to come find me. I moved all our stuff here. After scrolling for what felt like an eternity, I finally finished reading all the messages. So, Stella had moved into the apartment Leo gave her. Wasn't that moving a little fast? Was this even real? As I was still trying to process everything, the phone rang again. I answered, and Stella's voice came through, sounding like she was about to cry. Michelle, you finally answered. You can be mad at me, but you can't just not answer your phone, wah. Where are you right now? Half an hour later, I was sitting in a luxuriously decorated apartment, staring at Stella in disbelief. You're telling me this apartment was a confession gift from Leo? Stella nodded. I wasn't going to accept it at first, but then I looked it up online, and this place is worth almost $10 million. I thought if I accepted it, we could live here together. Michelle, look. We have a home. We have our own place. Normally, I would have hugged Stella and celebrated with her. But right now, all I felt was anger. I had been dragged away to face those two guys, my heart pounding, and even agreed to Julian's crazy plan, all for a promise of $10 million after the job was done. And I come back to find that Stella did nothing and got a whole apartment for free. I looked at Stella, my eyes blazing. Stella. You traitor. I'm going to kill you. With that, I lunged at her. Stella and I wrestled, tumbling around and trading blows. Finally, we were exhausted. We lay side by side on the bed. I stared at the ceiling light, my eyes vacant. Stella, am I dreaming? Why does it feel like we got everything overnight? We actually have a house. Stella, panting, replied, we're not dreaming. We really have a home. Sometimes, a person's life can flip to the other extreme in a single moment. I laughed. Stella, your parents must have been philosophers to have a daughter as philosophical as you. Stella laughed too. People who abandoned me at birth? I doubt they knew anything about philosophy. I'm actually jealous of you. At least your parents raised you for 8 years. A wave of melancholy washed over me. But, I can't remember them at all. It's like my memories from before I was 8 have completely vanished. That night, Stella and I talked for a long, long time. We talked about what we imagined our biological parents were like, about the traumas of the past years. Even though we grew up together and were inseparable, we had an unspoken rule. We never talked about these things. Only tonight, it seemed, we finally admitted to ourselves that we were unwanted children. We laid our wounds bare for each other to see. Late at night, Stella fell into a deep sleep beside me. I looked out at the twinkling stars and thought back to when I first met her. When the mob boss adopted me, the first time he brought me home, I saw Stella. She looked at me with hostility. The boss's underlings were jeering. Boss, brought back another girl? You're not married, but you've got quite a few kids, huh? The boss shot them a glare. What do you idiots know? These 2 girls are smart. They'll be a big help to me someday. So, the first thing Stella ever said to me was, you think you're so smart? Let's see who's smarter. Stella had always been brilliant, so of course, I was no match for her. In the beginning, she targeted me relentlessly. Thinking back now, even though the mob boss was no saint, he was her only source of security at the time. She was afraid my arrival would replace her in his eyes. Our relationship started to thaw when we were 10. The boss decided we were old enough to start scamming people. He told Stella to play dumb and trick people out of their money. But Stella, as smart as she was, knew that if she succeeded this time, the boss would never let go of his new cash cow. So that day, she made some very clumsy mistakes and came back with nothing. The boss was furious. He locked her in her room without food. But that night, I saved 2 steamed buns for her and snuck them into her room. Back then, Stella had none of the innocence of a 10-year-old, only a face full of wariness. "What are you doing here? Came to laugh at me?" I shook my head. I carefully brought out the 2 buns I'd hidden behind my back. When Stella saw what was in my hands, she froze. That night, she devoured them. Finally, she looked at me. "If we escape from here, you'll listen to me from now on. I won't hurt you, okay?" Even though I didn't understand anything back then, I knew. Stella wasn't lying. At 10 years old, in a rundown room, we became friends for life over 2 steamed buns. In the years that followed, I listened to Stella, playing dumb and acting like a fool. Stella said that only people with no value get thrown away without a second thought. Our job was to appear completely worthless to them. To be honest, the day the boss kicked us out, I was still terrified. As bad as he was, he had given us a place to live and food to eat. I was afraid that without him, Stella and I would end up on the streets. But that day, Stella grabbed my hand and walked away without looking back. She said, "Michelle, don't be afraid. Our future is going to be amazing." It was like her words always had a kind of magic. They made me trust her unconditionally. I looked at the sleeping Stella and smiled. "Stella, we're going to be happy, right?" I never expected that the next day, when Stella found out I was going to the Osgoods to impersonate Vivian, she would leap out of bed in terror. "Michelle, are you out of your mind? You sold yourself for $10 million? Her reaction startled me, and I quickly grabbed her arm. "What are you talking about? I'm just going to the Osgoods for a little while. I didn't sell myself. Julian said that as soon as he finds the truth, I'll be free, and he'll give me $10 million. Stella was incredulous. "When he finds the truth? What if he never finds it? Are you going to pretend to be their daughter for the rest of your life? And that's the best case scenario. What if they find out you're a fake? How is Julian going to protect you then?" She grabbed my hand. "We're going to go talk to him right now and tell him we're not doing this. Michelle, I never should have left you alone. I can't believe you do something this stupid. Come on, let's go. I'm taking you to clear this up." But I just looked at my phone, momentarily stunned. "Stella, look at X. I think it's too late." Stella seemed to have a bad feeling. She pulled out her phone, and after seeing the top trending topic, she closed her eyes in despair. Because today's #1 trend was Osgood heiress found after years. And the second was #Osgood heiress caught in love triangle with NYC Prince and A-list star. The comments were filled with people marveling at my life story. No way. Is this a drama plot? Fought over by an A-lister and a trust fund baby, only to accidentally find out you're a high society heiress? When is it my turn to live this life? I thought getting noticed by a celeb was cool enough, but that was just the beginning of the Cinderella story. Damn it, God, am I not your grandchild too? Reading the comments, my heart pounded. Why did everyone believe it so completely? Didn't anyone think I might be a fake? Suddenly, my phone rang. It was Julian. I fumbled to answer it. "Get ready. Your parents are on their way to pick you up. Remember, don't overact. You need to act like you just found out about this too." Hearing this, Stella and I exchanged a look of terror. Seriously? The test was coming this quickly? 5 minutes later, Stella and I had a clear picture of the Osgood family situation. Stella stroked her chin, her expression shifting. So, Vivian Osgood's mother died when she was 5. Then her father married a stepmother when she was 6. And the stepmother gave birth to a son in the same year she married into the family. And then Vivian accidentally went missing when she was 8. I watched Stella, who was deep in thought, and asked, "What are you thinking?" Stella sat down next to me. Think about it. If Vivian disappeared, who would be the direct beneficiary? Her stepmother? So she wouldn't have to raise another kid. Stella couldn't resist punching me. Michelle, what exactly is between your 2 ears? If Vivian was gone, the most direct beneficiary would be her little brother. He'd inherit the entire family fortune by himself. Hearing this, I was confused again. But, if what you're saying is true, her brother was only 2 years old when Vivian went missing. How could he have done it? Stella punched me again. Michelle, are you doing this on purpose, or are you really this dense? Her brother was little, but what about his mother? I chuckled. It was actually fun to see Stella get angry. She said to me, exasperated, "Anyway, when you get to the Osgoods, you have to be careful of that stepmother. I don't think she's as simple as she seems." I looked at Stella and nodded solemnly. Don't worry. I'll be careful. But half an hour later, when the stepmother arrived to pick me up, swaying gracefully, I looked at the beautiful woman before me and completely forgot Stella's warning. My God, how could someone who had already had a child still be this beautiful? The beautiful stepmother hugged me, her voice full of sympathy. "Oh, sweetheart, you must have suffered so much all these years." It's okay, it's okay. We're finally home." Why was this stepmother so kind and gentle? She was nothing like the harsh character I had imagined. No, I had to stay vigilant. I couldn't let her take advantage of me. But the next second, being held in her soft, fragrant embrace felt so comfortable. And just like that, before I could say a word, the beautiful stepmother swept me away to her home. On the way, she chattered on. "All these years, your father has been so worried looking for you, his hair has turned white. Thank goodness, heaven has been kind to us. We've finally found you." I cautiously asked, "And Dad?" This father had gone to so much trouble to find his daughter, but he didn't even come to pick her up. The beautiful stepmother replied excitedly, "Your father is waiting for you at home. Over the years, we've had so many moments of hope followed by despair. This time, your dad didn't dare to get his hopes up, so I came to take you for a paternity test first. By the time we get home, the results will be out." So that was it. My father didn't believe I was his daughter yet. I went with the beautiful stepmother for a paternity test. I wasn't worried at all, because I remembered Julian saying he would handle everything. Sure enough, just as we were about to arrive home, the beautiful stepmother saw the results and cried out in excitement. "Finally, this time, we've finally found her." She gently stroked my shoulder. "Sweetheart, it's really been hard on you all these years." I looked at her, but now I felt a little afraid. I had assumed Vivian wasn't a very important figure in the family, but I never expected them to have been searching for her for so many years. If they eventually found out I was a fake, how heartbroken would they be? At this thought, a wave of guilt washed over me, and my head sank lower and lower. But just then, the driver pulled up to the Osgood family's gate. The beautiful stepmother took my hand and led me slowly toward the house. At the entrance stood a middle-aged man who looked tired but still carried an air of distinction. As I stood there stunned, the stepmother gently nudged me. "Sweetheart, go on, call him Dad." Only then did I dare to lift my head and whisper, "Dad." The middle-aged man's eyes suddenly turned red, and he kept repeating, "You're back, that's all that matters. You're back." Life at the Osgoods was much better than I had imagined. It seemed like everyone was eagerly awaiting my return. When I told Stella about this, she was shocked. How is that possible? Are wealthy families really this harmonious? I quickly typed a reply. So far, it seems really harmonious. But just as I sent the message, I heard a soft knock on the door. It was my stepmother. "Vivian, are you asleep? Stepmom has something to talk to you about," is that okay? Hearing this, my heart tightened. Was it finally coming? The showdown with the wealthy stepmother. Everything today was just a facade, the inevitable was still to come. I took a deep breath and slowly opened the door. When my stepmother saw me, she had a mysterious look on her face. I sighed softly. Of course. The waters of high society were indeed deep. But to my surprise, after she led me to her room, what she said completely shocked me. Her tone was gossipy. Vivian, dear, which one did you choose? The A-lister or the NYC prince? Tell your stepmom, please. I promise I won't tell anyone else. By the way, how did you two even meet? Vivian, how did you manage to date both of these handsome men? My eyes widened. Wait. This wasn't right. Did my stepmother really call me into her room just to ask about this? How could I possibly answer my stepmother's questions? I could only wave my hands frantically. Stepmom, it's all a misunderstanding. It's not what you think. I'm not involved with either of them. My stepmother gave me a playful look. Oh, Vivian, I'm not an outsider. Just tell me. I'm really curious. Just as I was about to explain further, my phone rang. The caller ID read, Prince Charming. My stepmother saw it and gave me a knowing look. And you still say you're not involved? Why would he be calling you in the middle of the night then? It seems my judgment was right. You chose the prince. I was getting anxious. Stepmom, it's not what you think. My stepmother laughed and waved her hand. You, stop explaining. Go answer your phone. Seeing that the phone wouldn't stop ringing, I had to quickly walk out of the room to answer it. As I walked, I asked cautiously, it's so late. What's up? Julian's voice was tinged with annoyance. What took you so long to answer? Were you out committing a crime? Or were you busy catfishing and singing to someone else? Even through the phone, I could picture Julian frowning, his face looking sharp and critical. I asked again, is there something you need? Julian was silent for a few seconds. I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. So he had nothing important to say and was just calling to check up on me. How was he any different from those ruthless capitalists, spending a little money and expecting to control all my time? If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Just as I was about to press the end call button, Julian suddenly spoke. Leo brought Stella to a bar. Do you want to come? If you come, you can also give me an update on the situation at the Osgoods. Hearing Julian's words, a surge of anger rose within me. Here I was, playing the part of a fake heiress at the Osgoods, my heart pounding with fear, while Stella was out having fun at a bar behind my back. So I replied to Julian without a second's hesitation. I'm coming. Give me the address. Though I was full of bravado when I decided to go, as I sat in the car on the way to the bar, a sense of panic began to set in. I had never been to a proper bar before. The only time was when the mob boss sold us to one. The bar owner made us sing to promote drinks, and we had to feign obliviousness while a crowd of men stared at us with predatory eyes. Though our faces were blank, we were terrified inside. The experience left me with a lasting trauma of bars. Stella and I had once sworn we would never set foot in a bar again. I can't believe it. Stella had forgotten her roots. She had learned to go to bars for fun. Thinking of this, I gritted my teeth again. But when I got out of the car, I froze at the sight of the bar in front of me. This place, decorated like an art gallery, was a bar? So this is what city bars were like. As I stood there stunned, Stella came over and slapped me on the shoulder. Michelle, how was it being a high society lady for a day? I shot her a glare. Definitely not as carefree as you, Miss Kane. Stella, how dare you sneak out on a date without telling me? Stella looked confused. Michelle, what are you talking about? Didn't you tell Leo to ask me to come here? You said you had something to talk to me about. So, we were both used as bait for each other. Inside the bar, Stella sat next to me. Leo tried to sit next to Stella but was rejected. He looked hurt. Babe, why are you so cold to me now? You weren't like this before. Stella looked at him, her tone strained. Leo, we haven't confirmed our relationship yet. Please don't call me that. Do you think you can do whatever you want just because you gave me an apartment? Is that the kind of person you think I am? Hearing this, Leo looked guilty. I'm sorry, Stella. It's my fault for being too casual. I'll remember this lesson and won't make the same mistake again. I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Stella's tactics weren't particularly brilliant, but she had the luck of meeting a total simp. Julian sat across from us, watching us coldly. Are you two done with your domestic drama? Now I'm going to ask about what I care about most. Michelle, did you notice any strange behavior from anyone at the Osgoods? I thought for a moment. I hadn't noticed anything strange. So I shook my head. No, they were all very friendly to me. Julian frowned. No problems is the biggest problem. I was confused. Why? Stella jumped in to answer. I know. Michelle, think about it. Vivian has been away from home for so long. Now everyone in the Osgood family will see her as an outsider, especially your stepmother. When Vivian comes back, she'll be competing with her for the inheritance. How could she possibly be so friendly? She must be faking it. Julian seemed thoughtful after hearing Stella's words. She has a point. So, what did your stepmother say to you today? Let's analyze it. Hearing this, I remembered what my stepmother had asked me today and felt a little awkward. Nothing, she didn't say anything to me. Stella leaned closer, scrutinizing me. Michelle, you're lying. She definitely said something to you, otherwise you wouldn't be so nervous. You can fool others, but you can't fool me. I can tell when you're lying. Before I could answer, Stella launched into her own theory, grabbing my arm with a horrified look on her face. Michelle, you're acting so timid. Did she threaten you? I was speechless at Stella's wild imagination. No, she really didn't. Now Stella was getting anxious. So what did she say? Just tell us already. I was hesitant. Are you sure you really want me to say it? They nodded in unison. All right, I'll tell you. She called me into her room today, and then. They looked at me with grave expressions, waiting for the rest. And then she asked me if I was with Leo or with Julian. For a moment, I could almost hear the sound of the three of them turning to stone. Julian was the first to recover. So, she did nothing all day but gossip with you about this? I nodded. Stella scratched her head awkwardly. Well, your stepmom is quite the gossip. Leo huddled closer to Stella, looking defensive. So how did you answer? You didn't say it was me, right? I belong to Stella now. Leo's comment made me want to roll my eyes again. Seriously, how did this lovesick puppy become an A-list star? If Hollywood is out of options, please let me have a shot. Thank you. I asked Stella, are you two dating? Stella immediately denied it. Of course not. I haven't said yes yet. I looked at Leo with a defiant glint in my eye. You hear that? She hasn't said yes yet. The moment Leo heard that, his face fell. He asked Stella, how long do I have to wait for a chance? Stella tilted her head, looking conflicted. Not so fast. You'll have to wait. Her words immediately reignited Leo's hope. Okay, Stella, I'll work hard. Whose idol, whose heartthrob was this, really? Julian, sitting nearby, looked at us as if we were all fools. Finally, he let out a soft sigh and instructed me, from now on, you have to tell me everything your stepmother says to you. I thought for a moment. Even things like what she said today? Julian paused for a second, then said, yes. So, in the end, who did you tell her you chose? Just as I was about to answer, a female voice interrupted me. Brother, Julian? What are you guys doing here? We all turned to look. The speaker was Mandy. She was dressed provocatively, with dramatic smoky eye makeup. She walked up to our table, and when she saw Stella and me, her expression instantly changed. Mandy looked at Leo angrily. "Brother, didn't you and Julian tell me you were busy? Why are you here with people like this?" Stella was furious. She stood up and moved closer to Mandy. "What do you mean by that? Spell it out. What do you mean by people like this? And what kind of person are you?" Mandy was clearly still shaken from when Stella had intimidated her before. She hid behind Leo, and her voice lost much of its arrogance. Don't think you can be all high and mighty just because your friend hit the jackpot and became the Osgood family's long-lost daughter." Hearing this, Leo couldn't help but speak up. "Mandy, you can't talk like that." Mandy was used to getting her way and naturally didn't listen to Leo. "Brother, why are you taking their side? You want me to tell Mom on you?" Just as Mandy finished, Julian shot her a cold look. "Mandy, Miss Osgood and Miss Kane are my friends. Even if you're going to be immature, at least show some respect. You know I don't have your brother's good temper." This time, Mandy was genuinely scared. She shot us a fierce glare and walked away, leaving only a parting threat. "This isn't over. You'd better watch your backs." I was a little worried. With a temper like Mandy's, who knew how much trouble she would cause for us in the future? But Stella gently patted my shoulder. "Don't worry. I've never been afraid of anyone." I nodded, but a sense of unease lingered. Late at night, Julian drove me home. The whole way, his face was cold and stern, as if he didn't want to say a single word. So I wisely kept quiet. But he kept glancing at me throughout the ride. It wasn't until we stopped. Just as I had opened the car door and stepped out, he cleared his throat. "Michelle, you still haven't given me your answer." For a moment, I didn't register what he was talking about. "What? What answer?" He lowered his head slightly, seeming a bit embarrassed. "You know, what you said today. Your stepmother's question." It finally clicked. "Oh, that. I was about to tell him the truth, but then I caught a flicker of anticipation in his eyes. So I tentatively said, "I told her, it was you." My voice was very quiet. When Julian heard it, a smile spread across his lips. An expected answer. "Don't worry, I'll do my best to play the part of your boyfriend." Before I could react, Julian had already driven off. I stood there, a strange feeling blooming in my chest. I called Stella. "Stella, something's wrong." The person on the other end was startled. "What's wrong? Did the Osgoods do something to you?" "No, I think I might be in love." "In love with who?" "Julian. I know it's not real, but my heart is pounding." "Why is that?" Stella fell silent. "You're the type who falls for her drill sergeant at boot camp or her boss at a summer job, aren't you?" I'm hanging up. The line went dead. Stella had actually hung up on me. I couldn't help but mutter, "Stella, damn you." But just then, the main gate creaked open. The person who opened it heard every word. I looked at the person who had opened the gate and said respectfully, "Dad." 10 minutes later, in the study, I was sitting on the sofa across from Vivian Osgood's father, feeling like I was on pins and needles. I thought to myself, this is bad. I shouldn't have sworn. Now I'm definitely going to get a lecture. But to my surprise, Mr. Osgood's first words were, "Who is Stella Kane? Is she someone you dislike?" I quickly shook my head. No, she's my best friend. We just joke around like that all the time." Mr. Osgood nodded, looking like he only half understood. "I see. I'm getting old. I don't understand how you young people interact." I immediately denied it. "Not at all, sir. People just have different ways of getting along." But the word "sir" that slipped out seemed to sting Mr. Osgood. His expression grew complicated. I'm sorry, Vivian. It took so long to find you. It's my fault you had to live such a hard life out there. But thankfully, you've grown into an excellent young woman and have good friends. I'm very proud of you." After he said that, his eyes welled up with tears. In that moment, a mix of emotions washed over me, and the guilt made me feel restless. If he found out I was a fake Vivian, how devastated would he be? "It's okay, Dad. Don't be sad. I've had a good life these past few years." That night, I told Mr. Osgood a lot about my life with the mob boss. How Stella and I would sneak out to find food, how we'd secretly gather information on the boss's rivals. I spoke with great excitement. But the more Mr. Osgood listened, the more heartbroken he became. "Vivian, you've really suffered." The conversation ended with me receiving an unlimited supplementary black card. "Vivian, all I have is money. Spend as much as you want." On the surface, I was reluctant. "Dad, what are you doing?" But inside, I was grinning from ear to ear. As I was about to go back to my room, my father suddenly reminded me. "By the way, Vivian, tomorrow I'm having the Lynn family's daughter come over. She can help you get to know the right people in the city." My mind was on the black card, so I just nodded casually and then forgot all about it. Which is why I was a bit dazed when I saw Victoria Lynn the next day. Victoria Lynn was dressed in a way that was both elegant and sophisticated, yet alluring, exactly like the socialites I'd seen on TV. She gave me a faint smile, polite and gentle. "Hello, Vivian. I'm Victoria Lynn. You can call me Victoria." I felt a bit awkward. "Hi, hello, Victoria." Mr. Osgood pulled me down to sit. Vivian just got back, so she's still a bit shy sometimes. "Victoria, take her under your wing, help her learn the ropes." Victoria nodded obediently. "Of course, Uncle." After speaking, Victoria stood up and walked over to me. "Vivian, would you mind showing me to your room?" I quickly nodded. "Of course." At this point, I still didn't quite understand why Victoria was here. It wasn't until we were in my room and she sat down in front of me that she began her introduction. "Hello, I'm Victoria Lynn. My father is the chairman of the Lynn Corporation, which ranks in the top 20 of New York's business circles. Currently, the most powerful family in the city is the Astor family. Julian Astor is their only son. The Vance family is close with the Astors, so even though their wealth isn't in the top 10, many other families look up to them. The Osgood family is second only to the Astors in New York, with assets in multiple industries. The Fords and the Lees have comparable wealth." Victoria rattled off the details of New York's elite families as if she knew them by heart. When she finished, she looked at me with a calm expression. I was half understanding, so I asked her, "What you're telling me all this for is?" Her tone was official. "Mr. Osgood asked me to brief you on the notable families in New York right now, so you can integrate into this circle as quickly as possible." So that was it. Now that you have a general idea of the power structure, there's a party tonight hosted by the Astor family. All the notable young masters and ladies of New York will be there. Mr. Osgood asked me to take you. You should get ready. I have something else to do, but I'll be back to pick you up at 4 p.m. After she finished, Victoria turned and left without a backward glance. I scratched my head. Even though this was my first time meeting Victoria, I sensed an unfriendly vibe from her. Her tone and expression were perfectly proper, leaving no room for criticism, but still. Before I could think more about it, my phone buzzed with a message. Stella was in trouble at school. By the time I got to the school, Stella had already been taken to the infirmary. I looked at her scraped hands and legs, my face filled with worry. What on earth happened? Stella looked weak. I smelled something strange as soon as I left this morning. A few minutes later, I felt dizzy and lightheaded. Just as I was about to go into the classroom, someone bumped into me and knocked me to the ground. My gut tells me this was no accident. I understood what Stella meant. Someone was trying to mess with her. But we had just arrived in the city and didn't really know anyone. Suddenly, I remembered Mandy's threat from yesterday. Could it be her? I made sure Stella was settled, then went to find Mandy alone. She was in her dorm room. With Stella and me gone, she had the whole room to herself. Seeing me at her door, Mandy sneered. What? Vivian Osgood, here to cause trouble? Weren't you the one who started trouble with us first? Mandy looked confused. Hey, Vivian, get your facts straight. Who's causing you trouble? I couldn't be bothered to deal with you. Mandy's tone was a mix of disgust and anger. I started to doubt my own suspicions. Was it really not Mandy? Seeing me standing there in a daze, Mandy pushed me out. Vivian, stop being crazy. I have to study. If I don't get into grad school, are you going to pay for my future? I decided to go back and investigate properly. But as I was walking through an alley, a group of people suddenly appeared in front of me. They looked like local thugs. The leader spoke in a harsh tone, "You're Vivian Osgood?" I nodded. Good. We have some business with you. Someone paid us to teach you a lesson. I instinctively tried to run but found myself at a dead end. They had planned this. They were here to trap me. They closed in on me, step by step, and I had nowhere to go. Just as their bats were about to come crashing down, I instinctively shut my eyes. But the pain I expected never came. I opened my eyes and saw a familiar figure standing in front of me. I couldn't help but call out his name. Marco? He turned and glanced at me, a smile on his face. But he had no time to respond. In a flash, he was fighting off the thugs. Marco was the most capable enforcer under the mob boss who had raised me. I heard he was also raised by the boss and had been risking his life for him since he was 15. He had helped Stella and me countless times growing up. When Stella and I were kicked out, he was away on a job for the boss, so we never got to say goodbye. I never expected to see him here today. Marco was an incredible fighter. In less than a few minutes, all the thugs were on the ground. Marco turned and led me away. I asked him, "Marco, how did you end up here?" He sighed. "My last job took a long time. By the time I got back, you two were already gone. I was worried you'd be in danger, so I asked around and came to New York. I was just about to head to your school when I ran into you here." I was surprised. "Marco, so you came to find us without the boss knowing?" Marco shook his head. "No, the boss knows I'm here. He even specifically told me to protect you." Hearing this, I was even more surprised. "The boss sent you?" Marco looked at me and nodded. "Yes. After all, the boss raised you for so long. I heard he regretted kicking you out right after he did it. When he saw the news about you, his years of street smarts told him someone might try to harm you, so he sent me to find you." I was lost in thought. Even the boss had seen this coming, but Stella and I had been completely clueless. But thinking about it, it made sense. Since coming to New York, Stella and I had stepped on a lot of toes. And this thought was only confirmed at the party that evening. When I went to the party with Victoria, she was a social butterfly, greeting people left and right. But I felt like an outsider. No one spoke to me. I couldn't help but quietly ask Victoria if I was being ostracized. She just smiled and said I was overthinking it, that people just didn't know who I was yet. But that wasn't the truth. Halfway through the party, everyone was in their own little groups, and I was the only one standing alone by the drink table. At that moment, I missed Stella more than ever. If she were here, she would have stood by my side without a second thought. Unfortunately, she was still lying in the school infirmary. I pretended to be deep in thought to make myself look less awkward. Soon after, a familiar female voice interrupted me. It was Mandy. She walked up to me and, in a voice only we could hear, taunted me. "What's wrong, Vivian? My brother and Julian aren't here, so no one's paying attention to you? You must be so embarrassed. Don't think you can act like a princess just because you have a little bit of Osgood blood in you." Let me tell you, no one here takes you seriously. The moment I heard Mandy's voice, a strange sense of relief washed over me. At a time like this, running into a familiar face was surprisingly touching. I hurried forward and grabbed her hand. Mandy, where have you been? You have no idea how long I've been waiting for you. For a moment, Mandy's expression flickered through a range of emotions, and a hint of shyness even appeared. Why are you suddenly acting like this? Just then, I heard people whispering nearby. Didn't they say Vivian and Mandy had a bad relationship? They said the rumors about Vivian, Leo, and Julian were fake, but seeing Vivian and Mandy like this, it's probably true. In that case, should we go say hi to Vivian? I just realized I haven't said hi to her yet. Me neither, let's go together. Of course, Mandy heard them too, and her eyes widened in anger. Vivian Osgood, are you using me? I pointed in the opposite direction. Hey, isn't that Julian over there? Sure enough, Mandy squinted for a few seconds and then, with great difficulty, asked me where. I pointed her in a direction and then bolted without looking back. After Mandy left, the same young socialites who had given me the cold shoulder earlier all came up to greet me. Suddenly, I was the center of attention. Apparently, Victoria had finally remembered me. She walked up to me and announced to the crowd, "Sorry, I forgot to introduce her. This is the eldest daughter of the Osgood family, Vivian Osgood. This is her first formal introduction to everyone, so please take good care of her." At first glance, her words seemed fine, but something about them felt off. As I was pondering this, a voice suddenly cut through the air. "Miss Lynn, have you forgotten? The Osgoods are a prominent family in New York. Since when did they need others to take care of them?" I looked over. Julian was walking in from the entrance, his presence commanding. Everyone's heads turned in his direction, their eyes filled with admiration. Admiration for the absolute power in New York society. In an instant, Victoria's face grew awkward. As Julian approached my side, Victoria tried to explain. "I was just afraid Vivian wasn't used to things yet, since she just got back. I hoped everyone could help her out." But before Victoria could finish, Julian cut her off. "My girlfriend, I'll teach myself. I don't need anyone else's help." A collective gasp went through the crowd. I heard someone whisper, "So she really chose Mr. Astor. That girl is so lucky. Can I get a part in this drama? I'll take whatever's left. I'd be happy with Mr. Vance." Victoria stared at Julian, her expression frozen. It seemed like she had a lot to say, but in the end, she just lowered her head and replied, "Of course, Mr. Astor." Julian pulled me to another side of the party. Thinking about Victoria's expression just now, I couldn't help but ask him, "Julian, what's the deal between you and Victoria? I get the feeling there's something going on between you two." Julian frowned, as if in thought. "No relationship whatsoever. We're not close." Seeing my skeptical look, Julian seemed to remember something. "She confessed her feelings to me in high school. That explained it. Although Victoria acted polite and distant, she always gave me a strange feeling. Like she was secretly trying to make me look bad. So, she saw me as a rival. And what happened next only confirmed my suspicions. The final event of the evening was a gift exchange. Everyone placed their gifts on a table, one for the men, one for the women. The prices of the gifts would be announced, and the person who chose the most expensive one would be the winner and could pick anyone to dance with. The chosen person could not refuse. But just as people were placing their gifts, Victoria suddenly shrieked. "Oh no, the gift I prepared is gone." Everyone in the room turned to look at her. Including me. Because when Victoria brought me here today, I didn't see her carrying a gift. I also had no idea about this part of the evening. So, I hadn't prepared a gift at all. Wait. I suddenly had a very bad feeling. Sure enough, the next second, Victoria walked toward me. "Vivian, if you took my gift, please give it back to me now. I know you've had a hard life, and it might be difficult to adjust when you see valuable things, but that gift was worth several $1,000,000. If I file a report, you could face criminal charges. What was she saying? She was full of it. I pointed at myself, my face a mask of shock. You're saying I stole your gift? I'm the daughter of the Osgood family. Why would I steal your gift? She seemed to have anticipated this response. Vivian, my gift was in the car. You came here with me. I got out of the car first, and when I went back to get it just now, the gift box was empty. I'm sorry, but I can't think of anyone else besides you. I understood. She was trying to frame me. Can't think of anyone else? Is your driver not a person? Why would I be so obvious about stealing your gift? I'm not an idiot. The hall was completely silent. Only the sound of my confrontation with Victoria echoed through the room. Victoria looked at me and suddenly smiled. I wanted to talk to you nicely, but it seems you're so arrogant now that you're an Osgood that you refuse to admit it. You know very well where you were before you came to New York. You were raised by the mob. You've done plenty of petty theft, haven't you? I can't believe you still haven't changed, even after coming back to the city. Victoria's voice was loud, and everyone in the ballroom heard her. They started whispering. Oh my God, so those rumors were true? Vivian Osgood was raised by the mob and used to be a thief. Seriously, that's so embarrassing for the New York elite. No wonder Victoria was suspicious of her. If it were me, I wouldn't go anywhere near a thief like that. I finally snapped and slapped her across the face. I've had enough of you. Yes, that's right. I was raised by the mob. So what? All these years, I've lived an honest life. I've never broken the law, and I've never been a thief. What right do you have to just stand here and slander me with your words? After that, I fled the ballroom. The tears I had been holding back finally streamed down my face the moment I turned away. I don't know how long I ran. But when I finally stopped, a voice came from behind me. You finally stopped. I almost couldn't keep up. I slowly turned around and saw a panting Julian. Julian and I sat down on the curb. My tears wouldn't stop flowing. Even though I could stand up to Victoria with righteous words, the fact that I was raised by the mob had always been a deep-seated insecurity. I had imagined countless times what it would be like if I were the daughter of an ordinary family. I could have gone to school and lived a normal life. I wouldn't have had to worry about being sent to a bar before I was even grown up, or being forced to do things I didn't want to do. My parents might not have been rich, but they would have given me a simple, happy life. I looked at Julian, my voice filled with sadness. Julian, I wish I were the real Vivian Osgood. But I'm just an orphan. Looked down on, disliked by everyone. Hearing this, he looked at me, his gaze firm. Whether you're an orphan or an heiress, someone will still like you. I shook my head. No, they won't. I grew up in a world of opportunists. I know that people in this society judge you based on your status. Just like back then, if you hadn't given me money, I wouldn't have talked to you for so long. I'm that kind of person myself. Julian was silent for a long time. Just as I thought he wouldn't say anything more, he suddenly spoke. It's different. You were just trying to survive back then. If you had a normal family like other girls, I believe you wouldn't have been like that. You say people are all opportunistic now, but I'm rich enough, right? Am I friends with you because of your money? No. It's because I like you as a person. Hearing Julian's words, I was stunned. Honestly, in all my life, no one had ever said anything like that to me. It felt like I had never really been liked before. But I looked at him cautiously. But, Julian, do you like me because I'm me, or because I'm like Vivian Osgood? Even though Julian had never said anything, I could feel that his feelings for Vivian were special. Of course, it's because. Just as Julian was about to answer, his phone rang. He looked at the caller ID, frowned, and answered. A few seconds later, he exclaimed in surprise. What? The real Vivian Osgood has been found? The moment I heard those words, a flood of emotions washed over me. There was fear, curiosity. But mostly, there was relief. Good. I wouldn't have to live with this fake identity anymore. Julian and I were summoned back to the Osgood house. After all, we were both deeply involved in this matter. Julian had told Mr. Osgood that I was the real Vivian, and I had played the part of the fake heiress for so long. In the Osgood family's main hall, the real Vivian Osgood sat calmly beside Mr. Osgood. She was elegantly dressed, with fair skin and a natural aristocratic air. It was true. A fake could never become the real thing. Even after being lost, the real heiress still carried herself like a lady. She looked at me with curiosity. As if she wanted to see what the person who had impersonated her looked like. For a moment, I felt a pang of shame. Mr. Osgood spoke. "Julian, I trusted you so much. Why did you lie to me? If I hadn't been about to give up and cancel the search, if I hadn't been lucky enough to find Vivian in the end, were you planning to let an old man like me live with regret for the rest of my life?" Julian bowed his head deeply. "I'm sorry, Mr. Osgood. This was my mistake. Don't worry, as a junior, I know what I must do." Mr. Osgood let out a cold laugh. "Everyone knows the Astor family is powerful. But in a matter like this, are you planning to buy my silence with money? I heard this fake heiress you found was caught stealing at a party. If you can't give me a satisfactory explanation for this, I've also called Victoria over. We'll see how this matter should be resolved." Just as Mr. Osgood finished speaking, Victoria walked in from outside. But the moment the real Vivian saw Victoria, she suddenly shot up from her seat, her expression one of disgust. "It's you?" The real Vivian pointed at Victoria and looked at Mr. Osgood. "Dad." It was her. Even though I've lost most of my memories from before I was 8, I'd remember the mole on her face even if I were dead. Back then, she said she would take me to play, but in the end, she left me there alone, and I was taken by traffickers. After Vivian finished, everyone was stunned. Victoria looked flustered. "Vivian, we were good friends when we were kids, weren't we? And on the day you went missing, I never even came to your house." Mr. Osgood also seemed confused. "Vivian, Victoria was only 8 when you went missing. Why would she harm you? Besides, we've watched the security footage from that day over and over again, and we never saw Victoria here." Vivian slowly approached Victoria. "You told me to come to your house to play, and you specifically told me not to tell Dad, to go out through the back door. But when I got to the back door, someone knocked me out. When I woke up, I was in a strange place. Actually, my memories of what happened back then are very blurry, but the moment I saw you, all those memories became crystal clear." Mr. Osgood asked Vivian, his voice trembling, "Vivian, is everything you're saying true?" Vivian nodded. Mr. Osgood looked at Victoria, his eyes filled with disappointment. "Victoria, after Vivian went missing, you were always here to comfort me. You always told me that Vivian would definitely come back. You know, to some extent, I had already started to see you as my own daughter. But I never thought it would be you who caused Vivian to go missing." Hearing Mr. Osgood's words, Victoria let out a sarcastic laugh. "See me as your daughter? How can you even say that? I've been playing this part for so many years. I deserve some credit, even if I haven't done anything major. And you? You talk a good game, but you've never given me anything of real value. And then, after that fake Vivian came back, you acted like I didn't even exist, giving her all the best things. Why? Why can't I have the things Vivian has?" Mr. Osgood looked heartbroken, clutching his chest. "Victoria, you've gone too far. I will not let this go easily. I will make sure you pay for what you've done." But Victoria seemed to have expected this. So many years have passed. What could you possibly find out now? I wasn't the one who trafficked Vivian. At most, I just played a prank and led her out of the house. What crime can you charge me with? Just then, a voice came from behind. Maybe not trafficking, but what about assault and hiring a hitman? I turned around to see Leo walking in with Stella, followed by a group of people. I even saw Marco among them. When Victoria saw Leo and the people behind him, her face paled. Leo walked up to Victoria. "What's the matter? You did it, but you won't admit it? What did those two young women ever do to you? You hired thugs to try and kill them?" Victoria's face was panicked, but she was still trying to maintain her composure. "Mr. Vance? What are you talking about? I don't understand." Leo seemed to have anticipated her denial. He played a recording on his phone, a conversation between him and the thugs. "I hear you were paid to do a job. Who paid you? Mr. Vance, we're begging you. You know the rules of this business. We can't reveal the details of the transaction. If you tell me now, you'll walk away clean. But if I have to find out on my own, things won't be so easy for you." The thugs panicked. "Mr. Vance, it was Miss Victoria Lynn, from the Lynn family. She's your neighbor." After hearing the recording, Victoria's face turned completely white. I leaned over and whispered to Stella, "You know, Leo is actually pretty hot in moments like this." Stella's lips curved into a slight smile, a hint of pride in her eyes. "He's okay." Now Mr. Osgood understood as well. Victoria's silence was a tacit admission of hiring the hitmen. His voice was filled with rage. "Victoria Lynn, you just wait. I'll make sure you rot in prison." After decades in New York's high society, Mr. Osgood had the connections to make that happen. But then, Marco spoke up. "Miss Lynn just mentioned that the trafficking incident was too long ago. But as it happens, my boss was in the area where Miss Osgood was kidnapped back then. He can help find the person who trafficked her. But I imagine Miss Lynn was quite young at the time. There must have been someone else helping her behind the scenes." Hearing this, Mr. Osgood looked thoughtful. I also started to understand. This was a long-planned conspiracy. The Lynn family wanted to get closer to the Osgood family. And the way they chose to do it was by making the Osgood's daughter disappear and having their own daughter comfort Mr. Osgood for a decade to gain his trust. If Mr. Osgood had truly fallen for it, who knows what other schemes were waiting for the Osgood family. Everyone gasped. In the end, Victoria was arrested on suspicion of hiring hitmen, and the police would also use her as a lead to reinvestigate Vivian's disappearance from 10 years ago. And so, the catfishing drama came to an end with Vivian's return and Victoria's arrest. The events of the past few days felt like a dream. I had fantasized about what it would be like if I were the real Vivian. But in the end, I wasn't. When Victoria was taken away, I also left the Osgood house. Before I left, I saw Julian talking with the real Vivian. A handsome man and a beautiful woman, a prince and a princess. They looked perfect together. As I walked out of the Osgood estate, Marco caught up with me. "Michelle, do you want to go back and see the boss? He's missed you and Stella since you left." I was silent for a moment, but eventually, I shook my head. Although the boss had raised us, Stella and I had lived every day in fear. I couldn't forgive him on behalf of my younger self. Marco saw my refusal and didn't press the issue. "I understand. The boss was wrong. He only raised you to be his helpers. I get it, for both you and Stella. From now on, I hope you two will live a good life." Marco waved goodbye. At that moment, I finally felt like I could breathe again. It was as if all the painful years of my past were finally saying goodbye. I moved back into the school dorm. When Stella heard I was back, she moved back too. I teased her. "What happened to the big apartment Leo gave you?" She answered almost without hesitation. "It's not a home without you." But then she revealed a deeper reason. "I think, the social gap between me and Leo is just too big. I don't think we have a future, so it's better to end it sooner rather than later. And since I'm not going to be with him, I can't keep the apartment he gave me." Stella had always been a person of principle. I asked her, "Does Leo know how you feel?" "What did he say?" Stella shook her head. "I sent him one message saying it would never work, then I blocked him. I was a little shocked. Because I had blocked Julian too. But it was fine. No men in my heart, only the gods of academia. Free from all distractions, Stella and I finally began to enjoy college life. We went to class together, studied together, and ate together in the cafeteria. Just when we thought life would continue on like this, the unexpected happened. Someone posted on the campus forum about how Stella and I were raised by the mob. The post blew up with comments. Am I seeing this right? Isn't that the NYC prince's girlfriend, the daughter the Osgood family just found? Dude above, you're so behind. That Michelle Miller isn't the Osgood's daughter. The real heiress was found a while ago. The rumored girlfriend of an A-lister and a billionaire, a fake heiress, raised by the mob. Putting these three things together is kind of terrifying. Was Michelle Miller trained by the mob to be a gold digger? The campus forum was flooded with comments. People seemed to have decided, without any evidence, that I was after their money from the very beginning. This Michelle Miller looks so pretty, but she's a gold digger. I'm not surprised, I always thought she seemed like a bad person. Anyone who can be involved with two men at the same time can't be any good. Exactly, and who knows if it was just two men. Suddenly, Stella and I were once again at the center of a storm of public opinion. Everyone was attacking me with words like gold digger, sugar baby, and slut. But just then, Julian posted on X. It's not my girlfriend trying to get money, it's me wanting to give her money. Will irrelevant people please stop spreading rumors without knowing the truth? And Leo posted a picture of him and Stella with the caption, "This is my girlfriend." Miss Miller was not two-timing anyone. Please don't misunderstand. He also couldn't resist adding, "Babe, when are you going to unblock me?" Instantly, the hashtag NYC Prince and a lister are simps shot to the top of the trending list. Suddenly, no one had time to discuss me and Stella anymore. They were all rushing to X to get in on the latest gossip. And as for me and Stella, we were caught by Julian and Leo on our way back to the dorm. Leo grabbed Stella and started crying. "Stella, what did I do wrong? Why did you block me? Don't do this." Stella pulled Leo aside to talk. Julian and I were left facing each other. He looked at me for a long time. "Why did you block me?" I clutched the hem of my shirt, my voice hesitant. "The real Vivian is back. I didn't think we needed to stay in touch anymore." Julian frowned, confused. "She's back. What does that have to do with us staying in touch?" "Of course it has to do with it. You like her, don't you? So we don't need to see each other anymore." Julian pointed at himself. "You're saying I like Vivian Osgood?" Faced with his question, I got a little angry. "If you don't like her, why were you in such a hurry to find the person who hurt her? Since you like her, and she's back, we definitely don't need to see each other anymore." I had laid it all out so clearly. Julian had to understand now, right? But he just laughed. "I understand. But I wanted to find justice for her, not because I like her. It's because on the day she disappeared, she was supposed to go out and play with me, but I turned her down. So for the past 10 years, I've been filled with regret. If I had just said yes that day, would she still have disappeared?" Hearing his explanation, I finally understood. I understood why he had been so obsessed with finding Vivian. As I was still processing this, Julian spoke again. "So, do you understand now? I don't like her." He met my eyes, his gaze steady. "If it's okay, could you give me a chance to pursue you?" Hearing this, I froze. Not because I was surprised, but because my feelings were complicated. I knew very well the gap between us. Even though I had feelings for him, the problems we would face if we got together were not something love alone could solve. After a moment of thought, I looked up. "Julian, can you give me some time? I don't need to think about whether I like you. But I need some time to become better, to close the gap between us. Thank you for everything you've done for me, for saving me time and time again. But I don't want to spend the rest of my life waiting for someone else to save me." Julian smiled. He nodded. Actually, that answer is very you. I understand what you mean. Just then, Stella returned from her talk with Leo. We looked at each other and shared a knowing smile. I knew. We had made the same choice. Life isn't always about getting lucky. You have to become better yourself to be able to confidently face the love and good fortune that falls from the sky. 4 years later, Stella and I graduated with honors and received full scholarships to study abroad. 6 years later, while pursuing our degrees, we caught the wave of a new era and earned our first fortune. We decided to return to our home country and move our headquarters back. On the day we returned, both Julian and Leo were there to pick us up. This meeting was not as rushed as the ones years ago. We were no longer little girls in tattered clothes. This time, we finally had the confidence to take their hands.